Thank you all so much for coming. So let's jump right into it. The first part of the show is going to be dedicated to the eclipse on the 25th. And I have a few examples of charts of people that are in this group that are very strongly affected by that. We all will be, but these are people born on the 24th or 25th. So here we go. The first one that I made is just to show you the outline of the major part of the eclipse. That is the main body of it. And we're going to get you a little bit of a high. The good news is you'll see that I found a paint program as part of my astrology software, and I figured out how to do much better graphics for you. And thank goodness, hallelujah, I'll be able to do them live when I have more practice. But here's the eclipse on October 25th. And as you know, we have been having this overarching effect of Saturn, and I'm going to make it yellow down here as we speak so you can see what we're talking about. This Saturn down here with this Uranus has been an overarching difficulty for all of us and is so important. And I have to start by talking about that because this is one of the major significator, and we'll go over this some more. But Uranus, as you know, is the planet of revolutionary things. Now, there's a little example from the French Revolution where they had a saying, I think it was liberté, égalité, fraternité, maybe not in that order, but it means liberty, equality, and brotherhood. Now, those are three wonderful keywords for the best aspects of Uranus. As you know, Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. We're entering into the age of Aquarius. Liberty, equality, and fraternity. Well, in the American Revolution, we had the We the People for the search of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Similar ideal. So those are the Uranian ideals that will be affected as we make this transition into the age of Aquarius. And this is the main sticking object right here. Uranus has been square to Saturn. It's really opposite in ideals, which is in the sign of Aquarius. So we have the urge toward a revolutionary change of brotherhood of man, where people really have personal liberty and equality. That's doing away with bigotry, racism, anti-Semitism, hate of people for what they might represent to us, our fears. I mean, you see the people who are spouting off a lot of bigotry right now, and we've had the BLM problems, we have the gender issues where people are just hating each other, and now we have an uptick in anti-Semitism. These are like the last throes of the people who live in fear, because we have another group of people that are not looking for liberty and the pursuit of happiness for all, but actually are stoking fear and hate. And that's a smaller group. But they're very dangerous because they are getting a little bit aggressive in their last throes here. Looking here, Saturn at the bottom. Saturn is the opposite of the things we're looking for in this new age. And it's restriction, the old power of the few, tyrannical power, despotic power, the anti-democratic forces, let's say. So it's been a struggle between these two things. And in our personal life, we can feel it too in our personal issues. So this thing is being activated by the eclipse, which is happening on Tuesday. This eclipse is in 2 degrees of Scorpio. And looking here, I'm going to highlight these 2 degrees of everyone over here in the yellow circle. 2 degrees exactly. Well, for an eclipse, of course, a solar eclipse has the sun and moon in the exact degree, but Venus is also in this exact degree. And that is a really beautiful thing. Now, all three of these planets, if you were to draw them correctly, they would be one right on top of each other. They're not spread apart like they are in this picture. The computer can't handle putting all three together. So I made a little red dot here. That's where the sun, the moon, and Venus are all exactly in one little tiny spot, 2 degrees. That's called partile. When you have a conjunction that's exactly precise, it's much more powerful. Now, Venus, of course, is search of harmony, justice, and social awareness in the higher aspect. With the moon is sensitivity, and the sun, all in a very powerful degree of Scorpio. Now, the two planets at the end of this eclipse, Mercury is a planet, and it's in 22 degrees of Libra. It's a little bit wide from here. It's 10 degrees apart, but it's still active because this center is so powerful. And the south node of the moon, which is at 13 degrees of Scorpio. Now, these are the edges of the feeling of the eclipse, but it's active. It's a very active spot, activating all of this entire area. So Mercury, the mental aspects, and the south of the node, which means we're clearing out things from the past. The garbage from the past that we were just discussing. Yeah, it's disgusting. Hate, bigotry, lies, and deception. Things that have been built up in our society to a boiling point, and it's about to be getting weeded out in a very dramatic fashion in the next few months. But this is the beginning of the end of that. Let's put it that way. So this is the main part of the eclipse, in the sense that it's the powerful solar moon Venus in Scorpio. Now, we know that Scorpio is the powerhouse sign of the zodiac, and when it's being controlled, the people have a Scorpio power. Like Merrick Garland and Joe Biden are two people that are showing that the hidden power of Scorpio that's working under the surface. So I want you all not to worry, that justice will come, and our society is going to make a very major change. But you need a few more months of patience. I know it's been hard. Like, we've been 6 years of patience. Seems like we're about run out, but it's coming soon. So hold your horses. This is so looking at this main part of the eclipse, I just wanted you to see this axis because it's a very complicated situation. Now let's look at some other things that are happening at that same time. So here we have the eclipse part down at the in the south end. Let's see if I'm still pointing to it in yellow. Okay, looking at this corner, we still have this is the eclipse part, and we have a trine, which is normally a positive aspect, to Mars, another trine to Saturn, and another trine, and then back here we're going to Mercury, the Mercury end of this eclipse. When you have what's called a grand trine in a normal situation, it's really happiness and roses and wonderful things. But this Mars and Saturn thing is a little bit worrisome, because what a trine actually does is allows the free flowing of energy. So it facilitates the flow between between all the things here. So it heightens the activity and the strength. Now, I'm looking at this as something, the Mars and Saturn reminded me of an image that happened in the movie The Godfather, where they had a big meeting of all 5 families, and they all come together for a big meeting, and you don't know who's working with whom, which people are actually having an alliance with each other and are going to work together, which people are going to try to bump each other off. We don't know how that's working out. So it's like Mars and Saturn are working, the energy is flowing freely, but it's a little bit scary because it's not necessarily a good thing. This can be, warring factions, and it can tend to what we're worried about, some aggressive behavior in certain groups that we have in society that are not really friendly to the cause of of democracy and the ideals that we want to work for in our society, of goodness, of the things that we want to work for. So there may be some pockets of people who are of lower, let's say this Mars and Gemini aspect can tend to some aggression, and this relating to Gemini publications. This is relating to the kind of negative, let's say, fascist elements in the press, parts of the press, or the right-wing news organizations might be spewing some things that are not friendly to society, let's say. And it's a little bit worrisome that there will be some people who are getting riled up and maybe wanting to cause trouble, and this will be building up toward election day. So there will be some element of that. However, don't forget the Uranus aspect that we are all trying to work for, which is the humanitarian good for all. So what we really need to do in this time period where tempers are boiling and people were worried about maybe some aggression during election day, and I'm going to show you election day in a minute because we have another eclipse on election day, if you weren't aware. So we need to, each as individuals, do what you can in small ways by helping your neighbors. See if anyone if you can help anyone mail their ballots or take them to the polls. If they can try to convince people to go early, because election day is not the best day. Tell people, your friends and people that you love, that it might be smarter not to go to the polls on election day. So to mail it in or vote early if you can. And then to be kind to people and loving to people, and do small acts of kindness to help your own vibrational state. And we're going to talk about this in some detail in a minute. But we want to keep yourself centered, keep yourself fixed on the goal, and you can never reach the goal of what we're looking for if you lose your base of tranquility and calm within yourself. So we need to stay centered and focused. And if you feel yourself losing patience with some people that are just too idiotic for you to deal with, take a breath and rise above that situation. And we're going to talk about that little meditation technique that I want to get into today too, and that'll be very helpful for you in these circumstances. Okay, so this is part 2 of the eclipse on the 25th. Here's part 3. Now this is getting worrisome here, and you see some squares that are prevalent. The squares are the red lines that are stronger that is more bold. So between Mars, that I'm now circling in yellow here up at the top, just highlighting it, to this conjunction of Neptune and Jupiter, we have a square. Now, I'd say this is kind of a conflict between the spiritual part, the Neptune and Jupiter aspect. It's going to be hard to maintain your spiritual calm amid all of this fray. And the other thing that can happen is with Neptune and Jupiter is lies and deception. So lies and deception are going to affect a group of people who are not aware of what's really going on, because they don't have access to true information. They're being fed lies, and they are not understanding that they're being fed lies. And it's a terrible situation, and that can lead to extreme some extreme tendencies of violence because of the lies and deception, which is one of the problems that needs to be rooted out. Now, over on the other strong red line goes from Pluto down here at the bottom of the chart up here to Mercury. Oh, I lost control of my little pointer. You find this is some volcanic, volatile energy that can be aggressive and dangerous. So we need to focus this energy in ourselves in a higher way, because you can't get upset and change your mental state, or you will be not able to help with the real problem. So you need to maintain your emotional keel, which is going to be hard to do when we're going to see things that are going to be aggravating and making us upset. You must not lose your focus that what you are seeing is the last throes, the death throes of this influence that we've been living with for the past 6 years, which is an anti-democratic, bigoted people that are not tolerant of others, of whether it be their other religions or other color of your skin or other gender, an acceptance of people. Remember, we're leaving the age of Pisces, and Pisces is we were supposed to learn lessons that Jesus taught us. And when we hear people saying that they're Christian and they're not doing the lessons that Jesus taught us, the main lesson being, as he said, and the greatest of these is love and acceptance of everyone, and help people who need help, who are less fortunate than you. So if you see people that need help, you do everything you can to help them. Now we're seeing the opposite. We're seeing people, let's say student loans has been a problem. So suddenly students are being granted some reprieve, and now other people are suing because they don't want them to have the reprieve. I don't understand this kind of mentality. People are coming across the border and they're being transmitted by jet to another location at the cost of $12 million to the taxpayers, when those $12 million could have been spent maybe to provide housing and food and benefits. It's things are happening that are so crazy. They're so antisocial and so anti-democratic and so much against, Another example would be in the pharmacy area. They're trying to put a cap on things like the price of insulin and helping Medicare people, and instead there's another group that's fighting against that. They don't want people to have Medicare. They don't want senior citizens to have a cap on the price of their medicines. And so you see a battle. It's a real battle between good and evil. I mean, you really can't say it in any other way, because there are the people who want social advances that are ruled by Uranus, and the Uranus part will be gun control to keep you safe. It will be health control, health benefits for everyone. It will be education benefits for the entire country, and keeping those children who are in school safe, that they don't have to worry about being murdered. And then you see a group of people, those things seem so self-evident to us, probably in this group here, that it seems that it would be ridiculous. There would be people that are against those things, but there are, and those are the remnants of the old way of doing things that's dying out, and they're feeling that they're losing power, and they are losing power, so they're putting up a fight. But they're on their way out, and they're giving up their last death throes, and that's basically the essence of that situation. Now, we talked about the strong red lines on this graph going from Mars to Jupiter and Pluto to Mercury, which are all aggressive and a little bit scary elements. But there is some light. Look at the blue lines. The blue lines are going from Mars over to the eclipse. So there is some people that are going to be standing their ground and standing up for the rights, and also between Jupiter and Neptune down to Pluto. They're also blue lines. So we have a strange mixture of people who are less vocal and less aggressive, maybe, but more numerous. Those are the people in the Uranus camp toward liberty, equality, fraternity, the pursuit of happiness, and the people who stand up for the earth, who understand the problems with climate change, etc. These people are more numerous. And we know who we are. So this is coming to a head on Election Day. And I have the chart of Election Day to look at, and we're going to look at it briefly. But first I'm going to show you some horoscopes of people that are born right at this focal point of the 2 degrees of Scorpio in their chart, because it gives you an example of how the eclipse might be affecting your own chart, because it's a complicated situation. So let's just recapitulate briefly. The main axis of the eclipse is from Scorpio to Taurus. This, in general terms, is the money axis and your well-being, your sense of abundance. So it might be money, or it might be your sense of health and well-being in that area, or anything that you is really value to you. And this is under some dramatic change with the opposition to Uranus. So it is not the time to make big changes or risky behavior in the money area. Things will calm down in a while, but this is not the month to be making investments or big changes or making decisions in that area. So the main problem is the new order, Uranus. So we've got Uranus, that is the equality and brotherhood, and the new era that we want of relief for people's choice, autonomy with their own bodies, and people wanting to feel safe and not the children being destroyed at school, people wanting health care. Young people now have a bit of reprieve in the marijuana area, getting the federal regulations loosened up for jail terms for possession for small amounts, or some of these things going on. So I think you're going to see the voting turnout is going to be very effective. Young people are going to come out that in numbers that they don't generally come out, because young people are a group of population that doesn't generally turn out in numbers for voting. But the young people have those things in interest: climate change, things that are against bigotry, gun control for schools. These are all things that the student aid, relief for their loans. These are things that young people are interested in, and they're going to come out. The anti-abortion thing, people are going to turn out for that. Women and young people are going to turn out in hordes, and no one has ever seen that before. And it's going to be unexpected. We're going to have unexpected results at the election, and it's going to be in the benefit of Uranus. Saturn has just going direct today, folks. Today. It's changing direction in Aquarius and starting to move out. Hallelujah. So the energy is changing as of today, and it's going to be very strong in the eclipse. We have some influence between Saturn and Mars that is going to be a little bit dicey. And so just keep yourself calm. Don't ruffle your feathers. Keep meditating. We're going to talk about meditating techniques. Keep meditating, keep yourself centered, keep yourself grounded, and stay on the high ground. Try to do random acts of kindness for people and help your neighbors or anyone you know understand that going to the polls on election day is not going to be in their best interest if you're living in an area of risk. I don't live in an area of risk. I can walk over and I feel perfectly safe where I am, but there are places that will not be safe. And if you're near one of those, don't risk it. Mail your ballot, vote early. Don't go on election day if you can at all avoid it. Another thing about the eclipse is we do have the Jupiter and Neptune thing. Lies are going to be coming to the surface. They're going to be starting to be eradicated. This is the lies and deception is part of the main problem. And these things are going to start coming out. And different news networks that are going to be in trouble monetarily, they're going to be punished, and they're going to have to change. And this is a very big thing. So anyway, this is this eclipse in a nutshell. And let's see here. You want to see what all that stuff looks like together? Look at all of these things. Oh my goodness. Here we have some very excuse me. This is an eclipse on the outside in reference to the charts of the lady in our class who is I spoke to you about her, and she's from Mongolia but living in Canada, and her birthday is on the 24th. So that would be Monday, I think, is the 24th, the day before the eclipse. So her sun, as you can look at your own chart and see how this would reference you. Now put the eclipse stuff on the outside of your chart. This is the eclipse stuff in the outer ring. Let me circle it so that let me point to things. Okay, the outer ring is the eclipse of the 25th. The inner ring is her horoscope. So this is the eclipse stuff that I'm making yellow. You see Mercury, the moon, the sun, Venus all together, and the south node. And they're all in reference to her sun because she was born with 1 degree of Scorpio. So she's just 1 degree off. Everything is hitting her right here in her 4th house. Now, where is it hitting you? This is the question for your own chart. You want to see what you have in early Scorpio, late Libra, and see if you have it just hitting that area. Hers is in her 4th house where she already has a bunch of things. She has Mercury in the 4th, Sun in the 4th, Uranus in the 4th, and Mars sitting right on the edge. So this is an evidence that 4th house affairs are going to be in a state of flux or changing or something immediate, things that need attention. 4th house is your home environment, anything relating to where you live and your close family, and it's also the mother, your partners that live with you at home, and your mother's attention. Now look at her mother is over here. Here's the moon in Gemini, and it's going from 1 degree of Gemini to 1 degree of Scorpio. This is a very, and it's red. It's called a quincunx. We're going to talk about this aspect a lot today because there's so much of it in the works. A quincunx is not an opposition. Let's see, an opposition would be from Scorpio to Taurus. That would be, I'm going to mark where it would have to be an opposition. We're not talking that, but we're talking 1 sign off to Gemini. And that is 1 sign less than 180. 180 is the opposite. Take away 1 sign, 30 degrees, this makes 150 degrees. Look over here to this Jupiter that I'm highlighting in yellow. That also is 1 sign off. So that also is a quincunx. A quincunx is like a square in that it's difficult, but it's a little bit less of a pull and tug thing. We call it needing an adjustment, something where you need adjustment, something needs fixing, and it's causing a lot of stress. And when you have two quincunxes, like we do here, pointing in one place, which is the eclipse itself in Scorpio, that's the area that is in focus. And these two quincunxes pointing like they are here is called a finger of God. And the finger of God, to be completed, has this thing that I didn't draw on here, but I'm going to draw it right now. A little blue line from the Jupiter over to this moon. That's a good thing because it's going from Mars, the Aries sign, Aries to Gemini is a good thing. So the base of a finger of God is always a fortunate aspect, Jupiter to the moon. I think this shows like a lot of love for your mother and really closeness, and maybe for herself might be involving her own motherhood, maybe the desire for children or the motherly nature, this need to give motherly protection. So motherhood and motherly protection and love and sensibility is the positive focus, and it's pointing to the fourth house needing fixing. So the fourth house of affairs needs attention. Mother nature, the home environment is a big focus for this particular chart. So look in your chart and see if where is it hit, what area of your life is it focusing with you. Now in hers we've got some foreign land and foreign travel and social relationships in over here. So that's as a nutshell of the most important part of the eclipse and how it is affecting this one person. Now it's a much more complicated situation, as you can see from all the crazy aspects in the middle, but that's the most important part. So her focus needs to be on motherhood, her own mother, her own sense of motherhood, and sensitivity in that area, and building up new situation in the home environment. So there we go on that one. I wanted to show someone else, and we're going to show this is wait a minute here. Oh, this is not the one. Excuse me. Okay. This is the chart I wanted to show next. So Mildred has her natal sun, and we're going to show this in yellow. I mean, her natal sun is conjunct Saturn, and I'm going to highlight it in yellow so you can see where we're pointing to. So the inner ring is her birth chart. So all the things on the inside circle is where she was when she was born. And here's Mildred's sun, 1 degree of Scorpio, conjunct Saturn. And both of those are on the ascendant. So this is her own physical health and body. So whenever a person has a big happening like an eclipse or a Saturn return on the ascendant, you must be careful of the physical strength and well-being. So we want her to be on a really careful diet, exercise, stress relief, and meditation to help her heal a little bit, because her body is a little bit at risk right now, and she's probably been overdoing things. And this eclipse period is hitting her in this area. So we have Mercury, the Moon, Sun, and Venus, just like we all do. But for her, it's very important for her to keep her physical health. So this is the time you want to go get your lab work, make sure that you see your doctor and you have everything under control. But I want to point something out for Mildred, because she has an unusual situation. even though her body is what she needs to be giving attention to. Mildred has an unusual, we're going to show another thing in her chart. She has this unusual thing in the 12th house. She has Neptune in Libra and Venus in Libra, and Libra is rising. Libra's rising, and the ruler of Libra is Venus. That makes the Venus and Neptune conjunction that's here in the 12th house strong. I keep using my pointer and you're not seeing it. So I'm making little yellow on the Neptune and Venus that we're talking about in her 12th house. Many of you in this class have a lot of 12th house activity. This is the sign of when people are highly developed in a vibrational state. This is a sign of psychic ability and sensibility and sensitivity. So we can see that Mildred is a very sensitive psychic person and very, very deeply attuned to psychic ability. And right now, this eclipse has got Mercury, this is Mercury in the moment of the eclipse, sitting right there on her Neptune. This is a time for her to be entering a regimen of spiritual discipline, or making, maybe something like a class for light workers, because she has a special gift for healing. And this healing energy that she could develop, should be tuned in for herself right now. So she needs to be working on psychic healing, chakra cleansing, light work in the body, and she needs to be focusing on herself first for a little while. And this is highlighted by, she's got a lot of energy of a positive nature from Mars coming over here, trines to both of these. So the energy is flowing in and she needs to focus it. We have another one of these quincunx things happening in the red line, coming down to Neptune. So her Neptune is quincunx. Her Neptune at birth in yellow is quincunx to her Neptune of today. And Jupiter's right there too, giving it expansiveness. So this is a time she needs to make some adjustments in her ability, in her psychic abilities. She needs to give some discipline and training to these things that will help her own body heal. And I'd say it's something you really need to do, Mildred. So, and maybe I can talk to you about the health aspects on this privately, if we could have a little Zoom meeting, because I'd like to talk to you about that. So this is the sign of a very elevated spiritual sensitive person. Now, sensitive spiritual people are having a struggle at this time because of the negative, aggressive things, and it can lead to problems in your body of inflammation or arthritis, problems with the bones or diabetes or something like that, just because you're being bombarded and you need to learn to protect yourself. Okay, now let's have everybody look at today. This is today's transits. There's something I wanted to point out for everyone. This is something very nice, very lovely. This is October 22nd today. Everybody has something wonderful, which is Sun and Venus exactly conjunct. I keep forgetting that you're not seeing it when my pointer doesn't work. So I'm going to make yellow. Here's the Sun and Venus. They have come exactly perfectly together. That are in 29 degrees of Libra, the sign of harmony, justice, balance. Today is like the eye of the storm. A really good time for you to gather that focus that we were talking about, thinking about what we want to see in our nation, how we want to have a happy future in harmony and peace, and to work on that harmony and peace element both in our personal self and work on that toward any goals that you might have for helping our country, helping people that might need help for the election or whatever you might just help your neighbors, like if you have neighbors that you could do something for. Don't reach out, just random acts of kindness when you go out. It's a beautiful day for elevation on this sort. And Mercury is in a relationship to Saturn, which is unusual one. And we have Sun and Venus going over here to Neptune. And this is an unusual aspect. These are both of these things happening are very good for spiritual development and meditation and health of your own health and your own sense of well-being and balance. So you need to focus today on getting your strength together, getting yourself grounded and centered for the next couple of weeks, which are, as you can see, are going to be a really bouncy ride. So today is a really good day in this area of harmony and inner peace, developing your mental discipline. You're going to need mental discipline to hang on to that. I've really been enjoying and getting results from the most benevolent outcome little prayer that Tom Moore talked about on Linda G's program, on Freebird's program. And if you haven't seen that, he has a website, Tom Moore. But basically the little prayer that you say is so simple and so easy, but you have to say it out loud. And it goes like this. You set an intention. You might say here that your intention would be for harmony and well-being in our country and in my personal life. So you say, I'm asking for the most benevolent outcome for the harmony and balance of our nation and my personal life. I'm asking for the most benevolent outcome for harmony and balance in our nation and in my personal life. And you say that little prayer, and you will find that you are not going to be caught in the fray personally. It will protect you individually, and the best we can do for our country right now is keeping our own vibration raised in that sense. Okay, I'm going to look at the chat and see if anybody has any questions or something. Okay, hello. Thank you. You're getting good picture and sound. That's good. You see my door. Yeah, that's why you're not seeing me. And I went to all the trouble of combing my hair and everything, all for nothing. Hi, Miss Brazil. Hi, Betty. Hi, V. Okay. All right, now. This is kind of an intense time, to say it in the least. About it. This period through the next eclipse is really intense. It's a turning point for our country. It's a turning point in each of our individual lives. And we know that how it works out will be crucial for our future in the nearby and long-term future of our country and our democracy, and having a better life for everyone is a distinct possibility if everybody that needs to get out and do their part does it. So do your best toward helping that happen. All right, I wanted to point out something. You may feel that overwhelmed when you look at that chart of the eclipse, how to see that in your own chart. I did have an idea in this area, and I'm sending something to both of the ladies I talked about today, Mildred and B. I'm sending you something, and I want to show this to everybody and see if you might be interested. This is a transit report. And I was realizing that many of you would benefit from this because it gives you a daily report on what your personal transits are. I think this one is for Mildred. And I'm going to send one to Mildred and B. This is the transit report. Yeah, okay, here it is for Richardson. So the way it works, if you get a transit report, it will give you get it for 3-month period, and it gives the dates. So the first entry in her chart is October 9th. That's when it was the most extreme, exact, but it goes all the way to December 1st. And it says, let me circle it in yellow so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're talking about it's most precise on October 9th, but it will be effective all the way to December 1st. And what it is Pluto sextile Mercury. Now this is her psychic sensitivity aspect. Mercury and Pluto and Mercury and Pluto together are the mind for Mercury, and Pluto, the deep psychic inner sense. And it's quite in communications on a real deep level. So let's see what it says. Your communications with others take on a new level of depth and intensity at this time. Secrets come out into the open, and conversations have a greater sincerity and depth than usual. If there is someone with whom you feel that communication has been too superficial, this is the time to dig further beneath the surface. Okay, now this aspect is good for her for a couple of months because it's involving Pluto going back and forth and being still, and Mercury was going back and forth. So it lasts for quite a bit of time, and some aspects will last a long time, but some aspects will last a very short time. But you see on this list of transits exactly what it is and how long they will last. So I'm going to send her this report that's a daily report of each of the aspects in her chart for 3-month period. So some of them will be just transient and passing and not be effective for too long. Here's an example. We have on October 23rd. This is coming up really soon, right? We talked about this one. Venus is right on top of her natal Saturn. Now she has a bunch of other things there too, but they're doing one at a time. So if you want to get a report of this type for your transits, what I'm going to do is I'm going to send one to Mildred and B today because they're undergoing a real lot of stress. And I wish that I had the ability to do it for everybody. But if you want me to send you a report of this sort, which would be into January of next year, of your daily situation and all of your things on your chart, so you can see how the transits are set up for you in that day, in that week. If you want that, I will send one to you, and I set up something. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, there's a free chart. You know, everyone gets one free chart, and if you want an extra chart for a friend or grandson or somebody else, you want to get another chart, I'll send you another chart or the 3 months transit if you would pay $5 to PayPal or Venmo to Astrology Vibrations. Now, I understand some people don't have $5 to do that, and if you don't, you could send me a note and say, I really want that and I just don't have $5. Would you please send it? And I will. Okay, no questions asked about that, and nothing to be ashamed of about that, because that's exactly the state that I'm in. I get Social Security. My check for Social Security is $864 a month. So I know all about this. So I definitely would be happy to send it for you if you have a problem. So if you want a transit chart for your own chart, or if you want a natal chart for someone else, send me $5 if you can to PayPal or Venmo to Astrology Vibrations. If you can't do that, then just tell me, send me an email and say you need to get that information for free. And send me an email and I'll be glad to do that, because I think the listing of the transits, since it's such a complicated and difficult period we're going through, are really overwhelming. And if you feel overwhelmed looking at that, looking at all those things, you're right to feel that way because it's so intense. And if you need some help understanding it and you want this, send me an email and we'll do that. Okay. Now, the other thing I want to tell you is for Nancy Jean's Garden. She called me. I was going to send you guys an email, but I've been really busy setting all this up. Nancy Jean's Garden. On Monday, October 24th, she needed to change day because she had a prior commitment of something she had to do, so she changed it to Monday, October 24th. On her channel, Nancy Jean's Garden, 11 a.m. Pacific. Nancy Jean is really wonderful. She's very well versed in astrology herself, and she's a psychic and a tarot card reader, but her specialty is crystals. And she does work with crystals that's so amazing. And I talked to her about what we're going to do. And one of the things we'll discuss a little bit is crystals in reference to astrology and your horoscope, and how she determines which crystals are the best for each person. It's really interesting, and she's a really interesting person. So this would be Monday, October 24th on Nancy Jean's Garden. Or you can watch, that's the live broadcast, and you can watch it later if you want to watch it later. Okay, so there's that. Now, the other thing I wanted to tell you, and this is really good news. So you're going to look at my door for a minute and just imagine me here. I have my hair all combed and everything. Gee, I'm so sorry. I don't know what happened to my camera. Anyway, I have two things for you that are going to be wonderful. One of them is a little practice tape that I'm going to do as soon as we get offline. I'm going to make that recording because I've got it all set up. And the reason I didn't do it before now is I was afraid to lose all these settings of all these charts I have here. If I lost that, I wouldn't have got it back in time for the show. So I'm going to make a very short video that's going to be for you to practice with every day. And it's going to be just fun to do. I'm going to ask you each to commit 2 minutes a day. 2 or 3 minutes a day, 2 or 3 minutes a day. Now, some days you might not have 2 or 3 minutes, okay. But try to squeeze in 2 or 3 minutes every day just to run through the drills we're going to do that are going to be easy and relaxing, and get all the glyphs, signs, symbols, all of the astrology basic language firmly entrenched in your brain and your subconscious memory, and allow you to tap into that knowledge in your inner self. So if you do 2 or 3 minutes a day, you will, in 2 weeks of that, have made incredible giant steps ahead. And it's not going to be hard. It's going to be just very simple, relaxing, meditative, simple. It's going to have 4 sections: slow, medium, fast, and very fast, where you simply write the glyphs of each astrological sign, the planet, or even 2 planets that go with. Some signs have 2 planets for rulers, and the house. And you're just going to, in a relaxed, meditative way, to the background of some nice music, just move your hand. And you're going to see on screen what you need to write, and you just write it down and relax, and it's going to put things into your memory in a way you didn't know was even possible. Your knowledge and understanding of astrology will just take off like an atomic bomb. It's going to be wonderful. And that is going to be posted tonight, and sometimes in YouTube it takes a day to process and all of that. So it will be there by tomorrow morning at the latest. I just don't know how long it'll take to process and all of that. Sometimes it's a bit of a delay. And the other thing is that next week after class, I'd like you to stick around and do the meditation, because we're going to do a Zoom meeting. I'm going to send anyone that wants to come a Zoom link I'll post a Zoom link for the meeting, and I'm going to show you how to do the Mongolian chanting meditation. It's a vocal meditation that you do, just a chanting. Does not require anyone to have a singing voice or anything like that. But you will learn to produce more than one note at the same time. You're actually singing harmony with yourself. Now, you've heard crystal bowls, so you know what I mean. The crystal bowl sets out a frequency, and then you hear little high tones resonating around it. You can do that with your own human voice, and on the inside, you will have that vibrational, let's say it's a stimulus with the oxygen that you get in your body, and also the sound vibration coming from the inside is really a miraculous form of meditation that's so powerful, and it's fun to do. And we can do it also as a group thing. So we'll do it after class next week. I'll have a Zoom link for anybody that wants to join in. I don't know what the limit is, so whatever I'm limited to have. I've never done a Zoom meeting that's big like this, but I'll see how many people we can squeeze in. And in the meantime, to teach you what it's about, so that you have a basic idea, because it's so strange. It's just it's a singing tone that has resonances to it, vibrations. You know what? You can't see me, so it's going to be strange that you're not going to believe it. I'm going to just give you a demonstration of the sound, so you know what I'm talking about. So one person makes a kind of nasal sound, and then higher tones above it. So I'm going to make the sound, and you can get an idea what it sounds like. It's weird, but it really does a number on your psychic state and raise your vibrational awareness like nothing else I know of. So here it is. Basically, that's it. Is anyone out there? Did I scare everyone away? I'm not seeing any comments. Anyway, that is Mongolian chanting, and it has a very strange effect on your brain and your psychic state. Is anyone still out there? Put me a comment. Okay. So there's that, and now I'm going to show you very briefly what's happening with the eclipse. Vibrates through you. Linda, you heard it? Okay, so there are still people there. You're still there. Did it send you off to another planet? It is very strange, but it's very effective, and just for a few minutes of that, you can really get a very big result. So let me show you very briefly about what's happening with the eclipse on election day. So very quickly, because we're going to talk about it in detail. This is our topic of next week. Election day is going to be a big one. This is the eclipse on election day. You'll see that the sun has moved into Scorpio at 16 degrees and 15 degrees with Mercury and Venus all together. That is in opposition to, look at this big one, Uranus and the moon are exactly conjunct. This is election day. Now, this is one part of the situation, not the whole thing. But this Uranus and the moon is something tremendous. For that to be exactly 16 degrees with the sun at exactly 16 degrees is really something. Now, the whole influence of this is going to spread between like 13 degrees to 20, and it's in fixed signs. Scorpio, Taurus, and look over here. Here's Saturn in Aquarius, 18 degrees. This is called a T-square. This is, SpaghettiOs time. We're going to discuss this next week. This is election day part chart 1. Okay, here's another part of the chart. The same day, same eclipse, I'm just showing you the different geometric formations. In this one, we see the solar part down here, same as usual in Scorpio. Up here, going to Mars in Gemini, and that's a quincunx. Now you know what that means. And down here, another quincunx to Pluto. Now we know the quincunx is like kind of like an opposition. It's one sign less, and it means adjustment. And it points the finger of God pointing to Mars. Uh-oh. So there's going to be frayed tempers and little pockets of violence. And this is something that we can meditate on, pray for, do our highest intention, and do whatever you can to help with that situation. But it's intense. And that's not all. Let's look one more. Add to that, this is what you just saw, Mars. This is the thing that you just saw with an added part. So we just saw the Mars and Pluto. So keeping that and adding another leg to it. Another leg from Mars going down to, Jupiter and Neptune. Now that could be good in most cases, and for certain elevated people, that's a good thing because this is the spiritual aspect. But it's also, for lower vibrational people, the lies and deceit aspect. So, people who are subject to lies and deceit and who cannot control their rage and anger are going to be susceptible to this one. And that is not a happy thing. It's a modified kite. You see, I drew a picture of it on the left so that you can see that formation. It's like a kite formation in astrology, but it's a modified kite formation with 2 quincunxes and 1 square as the red lines. And down below we have the trines and 2 sextiles. So this positive thing between the eclipse itself, Jupiter and Neptune and Pluto. For spiritual people, this is a really elevated time, a really elevated thing. And Mars can give you energy, and it could be a very positive time for people of the right vibrational thing. But it can go extreme in one direction or the other. It can also lend toward violence. And put all 3 of those formations together. Are you ready for it? Here's the eclipse on election day. Oh my God, that's the whole thing all put together. It's crazy. It's overwhelming. And it's too much for us to talk about today, but we're gonna break it down further next week, because this is it's a turning point, like forever is what it is. So it's major and really important. So we need to be focused. We need to keep our calm. We need to do the best little small things you can do. We need to do praying. We need to ask for the most benevolent outcome, and think whatever you can do for any neighbors or people you know. Try to keep them away from the polls on election day if there's anywhere where there can be danger. But it's not sufficient to overtake our entire country. What this is this is the fighting of the small, vocal, and some could be dangerous group, but they're small, and they're not going to gain power in our country. That's going to be skirmishes and small things that are not good. But the outcome is going to be a big change in the positive, because really, with Pluto involved like it is, that's purging. We're purging the old Saturn ways of the old structures, the old people, the bigotry, the antisocial behavior, the lies and deception. All of these things need to be purged, and that is not easy, because there are many people in this country that have been fooled and conned and hoodwinked into thinking things are a certain way when they're not. So it's going to be difficult to clean all that up. but we need to be, we're the army of the positive vibrations. So we need to be at our top shape to help in any way that you can. All right, guys. Next week, we'll do a little Zoom meeting after class where I can show each of you how to make that weird sound, and we can do it all together, and you'll be really amazed. I'm going to post videos for you to practice. I'm going to post a little video about how to make that sound if you want to check it out ahead of time, because you can do it on your own, and it's quite amazing. So look for those 2 videos being posted by tomorrow. One to how to do Mongolian chanting, one how to practice your astrology writing and knowledge skills. And you can just put those on and relax. They're not stressful in any way. So, yeah. So everybody, you guys are awesome. And I know we have a lot of people tuning in from Tomorrowland. And thank you so much, because any small group of people that gets together and practices positive vibrations and prayerful intentions toward the good of our country, we need it this next 2 weeks. So there you go.